Hey everyone, Justin here. Just doing a little follow-up to my Flux tutorials. I've noticed that quite a few requests have been coming in for how to set up something with sequencer using Flux and how to get, you know, voids spawning or fish spawning in the world via a sequencer cinematic, as well as giving some basic control over, how to control these fish and the kind of settings that you can do. So I thought I'd go over that, as well as some of the blueprint features that you're able to use with this plugin. So let's start off by, I'll show you, there's a blueprint in here called Flux Demo Nodes. It's just under the Flux content folder. If you open this up, you can see all the different functions that you can call in the Flux plugin. They're all relatively categorized. I've got some new versions of things down here. If you mouse over them, you'll see that you've got all comments, so it should be relatively easy to kind of look at this and see what all the different things can do. So with that being said, in our sequencer, I'm first going to show you how you can add voids at runtime. So we've got this add void function here. It passes in a group. This will kind of just spawn a new instance of our fish in whatever group we pass in, just using the settings that are in the world. Then we've got this other one, which is a bit more advanced. You can kind of pass in all the settings, all the spawn settings that you want the fish to spawn with. So for our purposes, I'm just going to use the simple add void method. There's also some other ones down here, as well as a remove function as well, if you need that. So yeah, I highly recommend looking at this blueprint if you're a bit lost as to stuff that you can do. So let's get back to it. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up a new level sequence here. I'm just going to call it level sequence demo. Cool, so let's get some fish spawning through this level sequence. So to do that, all we need is an event track. We chuck one of these in, and we'll put a bit of a delay so that you can see it happening properly. And all you need to do is press this add new key button, and it'll put a little point here, and you just double click on that to open a little event that will get called when that sequence fires. So all we're going to do is we're going to do our add void function here. You can see that if I type in Flux, there's a lot of these different functions in here. They're all kind of static, so you can use them wherever you want. But we don't really want to just, this will add one void, we don't really want one, we want a bit more than that. So we'll chuck a for loop in, and let's spawn 2000 of them. Cool. So if we go back to our level now, and we just chuck this sequence into the world, and I'll set it to autoplay, so it plays straight away. And we should be able to see after a little bit. There we go. We get some fish spawning into our world, and that's controlled by a sequencer. I didn't write any other code to do that. So that spawns in a bunch all at one time. What if we wanted to spawn them in gradually over some frames? Well, we can do that as well by adding what's called a repeater node. I'll just delete the other one for now. So if you click on this, you see that it's like different colors. You get some, it kind of fills the area of where it's being called. And this will call this function for every frame that this is running. So every single update loop, it will call it as long as this is active. So that works very well for what we want to do. So we can kind of just take this code here and chuck it in here. Now obviously we don't want to spawn 2000 every frame, or we might get quite a bit of lag. So we'll just set this down to 3. I'll hit play now. We'll see that fish are gradually being spawned in. It's pretty seamless. I doubt that you'd even notice if you kind of spawn them in at runtime in a game like this as well. Implying that they're kind of out of view a bit. So yeah, you can gradually add more fish. You can remove them from your level as well when you don't need them. So let's say at the end of my sequence now, I want to go ahead and remove all my fish because my The cinematic's done and I don't really care about them anymore. So let's add a new event trigger in here, and we'll just click here, and we'll put a key in here. Cool. So we're going to spawn all of our fish here, and then when we hit this point here, we want to delete them all. So we'll double click on this, and we'll get another node in here. So there's a remove void function in here, and you can see that this actually takes a handle. When you add the void, it also returns a handle. So conveniently, what we can do is we can kind of promote this to a variable here and turn this into an array. And change the variable type. Cool, so now we have an array of these handles. So every single time I create a new void, I'm just going to store its handle into this array. And now we can access all of our voids that were spawned, and we can do stuff to them in the future. We don't actually need that anymore. You know, if you drag off this void handle here, you can see all the different functions that we can do to these. So you can kind of change their health, their velocity, you know, the turning speed. You can do this for individual fish. We can remove them from the level. We can change their material values. Lots and lots of different stuff you can do in here. But now that we have a reference to all of our fish, we can just do a for each loop on this, and just call remove void. Cool. So we'll chug along here, spawn, 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 and then we'll destroy them all. We should hopefully see that happen in the level. Spawning, and they're all gone. Cool. So that's how you can kind of spawn fish and remove them at runtime using blueprints and sequencer. Now I'll show you how you can get a little bit of control over where you want them to go. So the main way at the moment that you can control your fish is using some flux volumes, and in particular gull volumes. So let's say I have this volume and fish are entering it and they're wanting to swim towards the center. That's exactly how I want to control where they want to go, so that works perfectly for me. If I make this cover like the entire area that they're going to be in, and let's say I'll move it over to the wall, and I'll go back to, did I leave these in? Yeah, they'll still be spawning. So we can see that if I have a big volume here, they kind of all want to go towards this area, right? We saw that before they got deleted. So these volumes here, you can actually key all of these values into your sequence. So I can open up this little sequence, I can add a new track, and I can track, which one is it? Let me just name it goal volume so we can see it. Track, goal volume, we can track its transform. So we'll key it where it is now, and then let's move it over here, and we'll key it again. And I might just delete the destroy here, so we don't destroy our fish while we're trying to see them. Come over here again, I'm just going to key it again. So we've got our volume, it's keyed in the same position. I'm just going to take this one and move it a little bit, and then key it again. So we should see now, if we hit back to the start, and we hit play, we'll have our volume kind of move around the level, and then it'll go back. So by keying it like this, I'll also just turn on loop indefinitely. So by keying it like this, we can kind of get some control over where we want our flux to move. So you'll see that they'll kind of go back and forth along the level here. And because I kept the spawn in, it's going to spawn more, but we might just remove that. But yeah, you can see that they're kind of moving back and forward along the level. So they're wanting to go towards that goal volume. And yeah, that's pretty much how you can control, you know, where they want to go. You can change this to a restriction volume or a flee volume if you want them to run away from that area as well. So the other thing is you can also, recently exposed all of these values here to be runtime values, so you can also key any of these that are on the volumes over here. So you can see if I go into here now, press play, I can eject this volume here. I can actually change the size of this runtime now, which is currently new to the plugin. So I think that should be all that I want to cover for Sequencer. Hopefully you guys can use this to kind of make some more cinematic experiences using my Flux system. In the future I do want to add some better controls, like a spline volume for example, so that you can define an area around the level that they'll kind of swim through. So yeah, look forward to that. Depending on timelines, it could be coming out sometime soon. But yeah, just wanted to go over this stuff, and thank you for watching. Hopefully that helps, and see ya.